I'm Tanya. I am a hairstylist and a makeup artist and an independent filmmaker from Michigan. And I'm also a vegan. So November of 2017 was my 2-year vegan anniversary. And I decided that in 2018, I'm going to do some more vegan activism in various ways. So one of the ways that I wanted to do that was make videos about my favorite YouTubers and how they've inspired me. So this video tells the story about why I have a James Aspey signature tattoo on my arm. So how did this happen? Like I said, I've been vegan for 2 years. So when I first went vegan, I quickly realized that YouTube was going to be by and far like the biggest and best resource that anybody who has any questions about veganism could use. And so I jumped in with both feet, and I quickly found some YouTubers that I really related to and really appreciated. I found James's channel and started following his journey, and he really has a pretty crazy story of like how he turned to become not only vegan but a vegan activist, and how it's so important to him and such a huge part of his life. And his videos aren't exclusively on veganism, but they're also just about like in general like living a happy life and making sure that no aspect of your life is left unfulfilled. Like relationships are really important, and taking care of yourself, mind, body, spirit, all of that is like really important. He talks about Vipassana meditation. He talks about going out with friends, you know, and just making sure that you take a lot of time to have fun too. But his journey is really something. When he was like 17 years old, he got diagnosed with cancer. He had a really hard time for several years, almost died. He was not expected to live from what he went through. He went in the hospital, he was there for a long time, and that's a really impressionable and difficult age to be in the hospital and to be so sick. And he says that that's when he learned what suffering meant. And so it gave him a different point of view, and he started coming out of himself slowly over the next few years, coming out of his own ways of thinking and his own started deprogramming himself basically, and started seeing that the suffering that he went through, he was relating it to animals and what they're going through. So he started slowly opening up his eyes during this time, but he got addicted to drugs because he couldn't drink with his friends, so he started smoking pot. And when he started finally getting better, because he was sick for so long, and had gained a ton of weight, so he started finally feeling better. He lost a lot of weight, started working on a cruise ship as a personal trainer. He met an Indian man there who told him that eating animals was bad karma. And then he went vegetarian for a while, and then he all of a sudden decided vegan was the way. So then he started the thing that probably made him the most famous, and he started a project called Voiceless 365, and he went an entire year without speaking. And again, that's where so many people know him from. He started a blog online, and he, like I said, went voiceless for an entire year. And he said it kept getting harder and harder as the time went by. You know, like it didn't get easier to be voiceless, it got harder, because during that entire year he started educating himself like heavy duty about what animals go through, what the industries are like, and all that kind of stuff. So he started getting this fire inside of him even more, and couldn't wait to start talking. So he broke his vow of silence on basically the Australian version of like America's Today show kind of a thing, and like millions of people saw him break his silence. And it was a really beautiful, I wish I could link it here, but I don't know how that works as far as like being able to use that speech or anything, but he did about 2 or 3 minutes of a beautiful way to break a year's vow of silence. And so that went viral, and as did many other of his speeches. He's also done a couple other like stunts, which he doesn't mind the word stunt. Basically, he's trying to get attention for the cause. He tattooed himself for 25 hours. It was supposed to be 24 hours, but then they got a big donation, and he's like, I'll do it another hour. And so he's got vegan tattoos all over his body. And he also just very recently in Australia was outside of a slaughterhouse, and I'm not sure how many other people were involved, but he went like on a fast for several days. So I'd been following his journey, like I said, and I was a big fan. And then I found out that he was coming to Canada. He would be in London, Ontario, which is like 3 hours away from me, and then Toronto, which is about 5 or 6 hours away from me. And I sort of looked at my schedule and decided that I could make it. And I have lovely friends that live in London, so I drove out, I saw him at Veg Fest on London on a Saturday afternoon, and then the next day I left my friend's house and drove up near Toronto to, and I had VIP or meet and greet passes for him, and it was a really small, like, little intimate gathering. I think there were 50 people at the meet and greet, and then a couple hundred people probably at the other part of his speech, and he was awesome, of course, and everybody was already fans of his and stuff like that, so it was very, like, intimate and nice. And so when I walked in there, I started, like, you know, getting a little choked up and everything, because he just means so much to me, and, like, he should mean so much to everybody who's vegan, really, because he's the real deal, and he really is trying to spread the word and get, you know, dedicate his life to getting the word out there even further. So, you know, love. So I went over to him, I talked to him for a few minutes, and just got choked up and felt silly and everything, but he was lovely, and I got my picture taken with him and everything, and it was great. And I gave him some vegan jerky from the Louisville Vegan Jerky Company. And then I went over and found my seat, and where I was sitting, there were these two people behind me. So I said to them, you know, like, oh my God, I almost started crying, and they both said, oh my God, us too. And then I started talking to them, Lana and Chris, and they were so cute, and, like, they had just gotten vegan tattoos, and they were showing me, because they had traveled to get to this to get to the speech too, and they showed me their vegan tattoos. So I said, oh my God, I'm celebrating 2 years right now, and I'm gonna get a vegan tattoo, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be on this arm and everything, but I'm not sure exactly when I'm getting it or anything. And then I jokingly said to them, I should have James just sign my arm and get that tattooed. I mean, what a better tattoo is there than a James Aspey signature to celebrate your veganiversary? And they both looked at me and just went, like, and I found out later from Chris that he was, like, really sorry that he didn't do it too. So anyway, I said, oh my God, should I have him sign my arm? And they said yes. And so I went back to James, and I was like, hey, I know you're into tattoos and everything, you can appreciate this, but I said, will you sign my arm? And he was like, oh my God, you know, and he was so cute about it, because he was just trying to figure out, like, how big I wanted it, and, like, I'm probably going to get some other stuff around here, because I have flowers on this arm and stuff, so I'll probably get something else over here eventually, but I want to keep it like this for at least a year. Anyway, he was lovely. He took his time, and he's got a super cool signature, so, I had to keep, you know, I had to protect it for the next 24 hours and stuff, but, and I'm really glad that I did that, because, you know, like I said, he means a lot to me. He means a lot to the vegan movement. He is becoming synonymous with the vegan movement, and I know that he means a lot to a lot of people. Funny story about when I got my tattoo. When I went in there, the guy at the counter, he was just kind of, like, you know, making conversation, and he said, well, like, whose signature is it? And I said, well, okay, before I said James Aspey, I noticed that there was a couple standing at the end of the counter, and they were just standing there, and they were listening to what I was saying, stuff. And I am by no means ashamed of saying that I'm vegan or whatsoever, but, you know, like, when you are vegan, you do get accustomed to, like, how do you know somebody's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you, and all those, you know, all the lame jokes and stuff, you know. So I was just kind of like, you know, like, I was going to tell him proudly who it was, but I was also sort of thinking in the back of my head, like, what's he gonna think, and what are they gonna think, and everything. But anyway, I just told him, I said, it's a sort of my hero. It's James Aspey. He's a vegan activist, and he's just a really cool guy, and I got the chance to meet him yesterday. And they said, oh, cool, yeah. He's like, you know, your tattoo artist is vegan. And I was like, what? And so that was so cool, because it was not what I was expecting, of course. And so I just kind of ignored the couple at the end of the counter, and I went back to get my tattoo, and as we started, you know, of course, my tattoo artist and I were talking about him being vegan and me being vegan, and we were super excited and geeking out and everything. And a minute later, the couple, like, came walking over to me, and they said, it was so cute. They said, hey, could you tell us who that is? Like, who's on your arm? Because we're vegetarian, and we're thinking of going vegan. And they wanted to know James's name so that they could look him up and stuff like that. Blown away. Did not expect that to happen. And it's so cool, because I've only been vegan for 2 years, but already it's exploding. It's so great. It's so different from how I was even 2 years ago. So I'm really excited for 2018. They say it's the year of the vegan, and I gotta believe it. And I'm just loving that people are opening up their eyes and seeing that we don't need the cruelty. We don't need it, you know. Like, I'm still chubby. I'm eating just fine, you know. like there's plenty of food. There's plenty of nutrition. Like, I mean, even though I am chubby, obviously, I hardly ever get sick, and when I do, it's like a fraction of how bad it used to be. And Anyway, I love this lifestyle. There's a million reasons to love it, and it's the best thing I've ever done. So anyway, that's my story about my James Aspey tattoo, and thank you so much for clicking on this, and I appreciate it, and thanks again. Bye.